Back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, Jim Cramer, Mad Money Host, tweeted today telling everyone to quickly sell not only their Bitcoin, but their friends as well, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about Bitcoin also, which has gone up a little bit more since this morning. What else can we expect for the remainder of this week? And let's talk about other things within crypto as well. So let's get started. Welcome, guys. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. Tomorrow's market looks like it could be in the green again. Today we ended up in the green. It was a little choppy, up and down, up and down. People were afraid of what this guy was going to say. He ended up saying not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. So tomorrow may be in the green once again, but Bitcoin trended up a little bit more, 17.4. An entire crypto market cap trended up a little bit more, above 1%, about 1% higher, right? Closing in at 860 billion. So far, so good. But what else can we expect for the remainder of this week? Well, Powell did talk about, still stabilizing prices. And you know what? There's going to be something big this Thursday. I've been telling you guys, right? The CPI number, I think that's going to affect his decision, the other governors' decisions, based on how much the rate hike should go up by the next FOMC meeting, which is February. Now, dependent on this reading, if this reading comes in very, very low, meaning inflation is rocketing downwards, right? Maybe this next rate hike will only be like a 25 basis point hike. Maybe not a 50 basis point, because the last one we had 50 basis points and that was down from 75. Maybe we just go down to 25. Maybe we don't have to see more rate hikes in the future. We'll see. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but this Thursday will be absolutely huge. So we got a couple of days until then. But right now, there's still a lot of doom and gloom out there. The World Bank warns that there will be a global recession this year. Global recession, not just the U.S. recession, global recession, right? So there's definitely a lot of fear out there, a lot of layoffs. Banks like Goldman Sachs, the Swiss Central Bank, reported horrible numbers, and so many layoffs right now. And unfortunately, this is the consequence of increasing rates and slowing down the economy. And this is precisely what Powell wants to see. Even Wells Fargo is stepping back from the housing market. Once upon a time, they wanted to just reach out to everyone. Now they're slowing it down, right? The banks are getting a little worried about mortgages and homes. So there's still a lot of worry right now, right? But it's still early. It's only the second week of January, right? So there's a lot more to come. And it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom like what some people are predicting. At least not for Bitcoin and crypto, which I'll get to in a little bit because there's a lot of good happening in this space. However, Jim Cramer, our favorite Mad Money host, because there is only one, tweeted this out this morning. People want to believe the best. Yes, I agree. I believe you can move out of tech slowly and Bitcoin and friends quickly. So again, why do you need to throw Bitcoin in there? What I don't get, first of all, you could have just left it at that, right? But he had to throw Bitcoin in there. And not only that, what doesn't make sense is friends. What does friends have to do with tech or Bitcoin? I don't quite know. But we know that Jim, he flip-flops a lot. Just like in 2021, he was calling to be paid in Bitcoin. And before that, in 2017, he called Bitcoin going to $1 million. Now, very bearish on Bitcoin, very bearish on crypto overall, right? So many, of course, what they're doing is they're doing the opposite. They're doing the inverse Cramer. And this is, again, for many, the time to be buying. When Jim turns fearful and capitulates on something, that's usually a time when you want to buy in. So I just want to share that with you guys. What else is going on? Well, we know that Cameron and Gemini, they're attacking DCG, okay? Attacking specifically bearish silver, not DCG. So they wrote a letter. I covered this morning. Open letter to the board, basically demanding for some kind of, some kind of action, and basically to fire bearish silver. Basically, that's what it's coming down to. They made a lot of accusations. They speculate a lot of stuff. Whether or not it's fully true, half true, we don't know. But, of course, it's part of kind of like, I would say half try to get a resolution, half to kind of divert blame, right? Barry himself did tweet out this incredibly long thread about various things, about basically being proud of the role he had at DCG, proud of what he has accomplished in 2020. This almost sounds like a memoir. Like, basically, it sounds like what you would put out after you put in your resignation or after you leave a company. It almost sounds like that. I have fond memories of the early days. Stuff like that. This past year has been the most difficult in my life. Verbiage is like you're writing your memoirs, like reflecting on the past. So I don't know what this means. I don't know if he could stay CEO or he's going to get kicked out or what. But, I find DCG, whoever's controlling their social media, they probably should stop it because they responded saying this is another desperate attempt to unconstructed publicity stunt from Cameron to deflect blame from himself and Gemini, who are solely responsible for operating Gemini Earn and marketing the program to its customers. We're preserving all legal remedies in response to these malicious, fake, and defamatory attacks. DCG will continue to engage in productive dialogue with Genesis and its creditors with the goal of arriving at a solution. So here's the thing, okay? So this is making it sound like that Gemini marketed their shitty product, and that is why they should be blamed. That's what it sounds like to me. So DCG is not recognizing the fact that, Genesis, they own Genesis. They don't recognize, or maybe they do recognize, but they're just ignoring, again, deflecting back, the fact that Genesis has a 1.7 billion hole that they need to plug, yet they're trying to deflect and saying, well, Gemini, it's your fault for promoting our shitty product, so you should take the blame, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. So whoever's in charge of their social media should be fired, and they should stop tweeting back because that just makes it look really, really bad to me. I don't know what you guys think about that, but anyways, that whole thing is not looking good. And I said this too, not just about DCG, but about Cameron and Gemini, right? Open letters like this, I don't know, just seems kind of gimmicky, little desperate, right? This should be all handled behind the scenes. But I know Gemini and the Winklevosses, they're probably getting a lot of heat because of this relationship with Genesis, right? I get that. And they may be frustrated, but, doing it out openly in public on Twitter, I don't think that's going to make anything better. But I don't know. Maybe it lights the fire. Maybe it does. All right. Now moving on. What else is there? The judge that's looking over this case is allowing Binance to go through with this Voyager purchase. Now, the SEC kind of threw in, I don't know, they threw in some objections trying to stop this from happening, and a judge looked at it and said, that's BS. We're going to allow this to continue forward. And they do have more than enough money to buy Voyager. So the whole thing, what Gary was trying to do in terms of trying to stop this, basically, Gary is just trying to cause problems or delay the process, right? So the sooner this happens, the sooner that Voyager depositors will get some of their assets back, right? So it's nice to see that the judge basically told Gary to go shove it. Crypto.com is delisting USDT from Canadian users. So if you are in Canada and you're in Crypto.com, you either have to withdraw or convert USDT, or they will automatically do it for you. And this is because the Ontario Security Commission, I think it's OTC, yeah, Ontario Securities Commission, basically they banned Tether for whatever reason, maybe because they feel like they don't have enough reserves or whatever. So, I mean, just so you're aware, they're not going to take it from you if you don't do anything with it. They're going to trade it for USDC. But, just to give you guys a heads up on that. But going back to Bitcoin, right? Why I say better days are coming is this. Right now, we're in the longest drawdown ever for Bitcoin. So think about it. If you survived since November till now, which is approximately 425 days, okay, you have survived the worst drawdown in terms of length, okay? Maybe not percentage. The percentage is close, but in terms of length, the longest drawdown or correction period ever in Bitcoin's history. So you could pat yourself on the back because you basically survived the worst already, okay? It's pretty long, 425 days. Now, can it go longer? Sure, but usually when we get to this kind of length for correction, it's usually when we have found a bottom and we're turning above, right? But it's quite amazing to think about, even from December of 2017 to December 2018, that was roughly 1 year. And then even if you go back before it, right, you had November of 2013 to January of 2015, right? That was actually when I first got into Bitcoin, around that 2013 mark to 2014. That was 410 days, right? So we're right there. In fact, no, we're not right there. We have surpassed those days. And all signs are pointing upwards. In terms of reserve risk, we are the lowest in Bitcoin history. Okay, so a lot of these we're forming new history, guys. The reserve risk is the lowest in Bitcoin history, which means the long-term holders, this is basically translating, what are the chances of the long-term holders selling? And it's basically getting to zero because even all the bad times we have gone through, the reserve risk has never been this low, okay? Bitcoin is being held by the long-term holders and long-term miners right now, and they are not selling no matter what, basically. And you look at the charts showing some of these previous bottoms, right, versus where we are now. There's so many of these indicators and signals and models that's saying this is the time to not only be holding and DCAing, but this is the time that Bitcoin is about to flip upwards. Just like this is comparing Bitcoin to 2015, 2016, when the 50 and 150 moving average actually formed a death cross. But, death cross is on a longer weekly scale. Usually it's a lagging indicator. So usually when it happens, that's usually a mark of bottom and we flip upwards. Kind of like right now, right? So here's another one that shows addresses with over 1 Bitcoin, which is a huge accomplishment even now at 17.4, because again, how many people out there can just withdraw 17,400 buy Bitcoin instantly? Very, very little. But there are close to 1 million wallet addresses that hold 1 Bitcoin, and that number continues to climb higher. Faster too. Not only higher, but going up at a faster rate, right? So many are stocking up taking advantage. So many are getting fed up about what's going on a macro scale, fed up with banks and central banks and governments. So many people are flocking to Bitcoin, and this is, of course, fantastic. Fantastic stuff, guys. All right, 17.4 still looking good. Let's do some Q&A. Darwin's daydream barely survived. But at least you survived. All right? At least you survived. So, I mean, that's pretty big. That we are past the longest correction times from the previous cycles. So, if you survived, right, it's a big, big accomplishment. This is much worse than ripping off a Band-Aid. This is like, I don't know. This is almost like death by 1,000 cuts. Except you survived. And think about how strong you are now. All right. Scrolling. A lot of Cramer comments. Let's see. Still scrolling here. Gary's a snake. I would say so. There's no reason why they should have threw their objections to try to stop the purchase of Voyager. But I'm glad to see the judge move it forward. So that is pretty good. Let's see here. 51% is better than a kick in the nuts. I guess so. Okay. What's your thoughts on the CPI data? Do you think it'll be in line? I think it's going to be better than expectations. So, from the estimates, let me just pull it up real quick. All right, so on Thursday, we're going to see this. CPI year over year, it's expected to go from 7.1% to 6.5%, right? And core inflation is going to go down from 6% to 5.7%. I think one of these will come in better than expected. Probably not core. I think core is probably right, but the good news is this will be the first time we will see core inflation go down since, I don't know when, like since before 2022. So I think core inflation will probably come in line, but CPI may surprise and go even lower, 6.3%. Could be something like 6.3, 6.4%, but I think it could be more because energy has been coming down so much. So I think we'll get a surprise in a good way on CPI. Core inflation maybe stay steady, or maybe we get a surprise there too, but I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, wow. Wally just became a whole coiner. Congratulations. You are part of the one of 980,000, which sounds like a lot. And it is. It's close to 1 million. But 1 million out of 8+ billion, nothing, right? So congratulations. I'm glad inflation not based on price of eggs. Eggs have shot up because there's some kind of flu or something. Mad cow disease. I don't know. Now it's now mad chicken disease or something. I don't know. Something's killing off the chickens. That's why eggs have skyrocketed, which is unfortunate. Next con. No, I am not. Have you been buying crypto lately? Throughout, basically periodically throughout 2022. So the answer is yes. Let's see. Helium moving to Solana, good or bad? That's kind of old news. It's neutral. It's neither good or bad. Daniel, it's taken me 3 years in crypto, but I finally learned a lesson about the power of holding DCA. I appreciate your show. Daniel, congratulations. Sooner or later, long-term holders all come to understand it. I mean, really, that's the best strategy. But of course, you know, there are some that are successful at day trading and swing trading, but very few. Most, they make the most by buying low and selling high, but mostly through, you know, DCA. How high can Polygon go in 2024? After 2024, very high. You know, if one day I woke up and I saw Polygon sitting at number 3, right behind Ethereum, quite honestly, that would not surprise me. Because Polygon and Ethereum are like neck and neck, and Polygon is growing at such a rapid pace. So, you know. Are Gemini and Coinbase still safe exchanges? Yes, I would say so, Ed. Coinbase is definitely, I think, still the premier exchange in the U.S. Gemini is still up there. They got a big black eye from their, you know, association with Genesis and offering, you know, interest through Gemini Earn. But I say Gemini themselves, you know, still look pretty good. Hopefully they didn't loan any money to Genesis. Uh, 2WYC, congratulations. Congratulations. Chase Michael, appreciate it. Bitcoin Billy, do you ever buy micro projects? I did before. Not recently, though. Not recently. Here's why. Yes, their upside is tremendous, but you still have time. So during a recovery, especially from bottom, what goes up first is usually Bitcoin, then followed by big caps. You know, at some point, the big caps start losing momentum, and that's when you see the mid caps, small caps go higher. And then at some point, you see the micro caps really flying, right? It's kind of in that order. But if you're just sitting too much in small caps and micro caps, right, you may be waiting a long, long time while everything else is recovering. So I don't think this is the right time to be stocking about micro caps, and there's still, you know, there's less trust, more volatility with them. They could be easily pumped, and you can mistake it as a recovery, but it just gets dumped right afterwards, right? So I think the diversified portfolio is still good. But right now, for me, I'm definitely DCA into the bigger projects, the bigger L1s and L2s in Bitcoin. My question is how Jim Cramer kept his show when he's been wrong so many times. He's endorsed, yes. Because Jim is an entertainer. He's an entertainer. And he is definitely... He gets the views, right? He gets the views. So many people like to hate on him. I don't even know how they have enough people that call in and they're not trying to like say bad things about him. So I don't know how they screen their calls, but Mad Money does a really good job of that, because I would figure you have a lot more people calling in to troll him or something, but you don't. So that's a little surprising. But anyways. He's an entertainer, and I can't imagine, like, once he finally retires, you know, CNBC is going to be a lot more boring without Jim. You know. What do you think about tokenization of real-world assets? I think we're just so early with that. I think it's definitely leading to that. There's so many things that can be tokenized, personal property, collectibles, even real estate. I mean, anything could be tokenized, really. But I think we're very, very early. Very early. Can you do a critical look into the Shiba ecosystem? What do you want to know, Jeremy? I know enough about it, but like, what particular do you want to be looked at? Because I have a feeling you already know. Is AI crypto a sleeping giant? Someday, not right now. Not right now. There's not even that many AI projects in this space. As far as I know, I think Singularity.net is the only one that I've heard of. There may be a few other smaller players, but yeah. Someday, but not right now. Brian says next week I'll be a 1 Bitcoiner. Congratulations. Congratulations. There's a lot of metaverses that are pumping recently. Zilliqa pumped. I haven't checked Illuvium, but someone says Illuvium is killing it. I don't know if it's going up today. Yep. So it does seem like Illuvium has fallen so much. This could be a pretty good pickup point. But yeah, Illuvium is working on their metaverse. ApeCoin, obviously, Yuga Labs working on it. Zilliqa, I mean, there's so many that's working on it. Cardano has, what's that project? Pavia. And there's so many others in the space. I think it's because Gala recently has pumped up, so now there's interest again in these other metaverse plays. Although Gala is not really in a metaverse, they're just into gaming and movies and music now. But definitely when Gala start pumping, all these others start pumping too. To be honest, Mike, I haven't kept up with Illuvium. I know that I used to like them because I thought the team and the graphics, at least the production art that they came out with, was absolutely fantastic. The team looked good, but their token unlock and their delays have really hurt them during last year. Hopefully they can pull it together and recover. George, I'm debating between a used LX570 and Tundra, both of 5.7 liter engines. I can make a case for both. Thoughts on either way? Well, it just really depends on if you want a truck or not. Truck is cool. You can lift it, put some big tires, right? You'll feel like a king on the road, but very hard to park. The four-wheel drive setup, kind of, ancient compared to all-wheel drive. And it really depends on if you need to haul. Otherwise, the LX570 is a better option, right? It's more practical, more usable. So, there you go. And one is luxury and one is not. I like both. I actually really like the old TRD Pro Tundra. Not the new one. The old one I really loved. MTMD, okay. Avalanche, why do they seem so quiet? Should we be worried? No. Not every project has something to announce like every week or every month. Avalanche, still one of the premier L1s, I would say. If you look at, I don't have the page with me, but they came out with a lot in 2022 despite the downfall. But if you look at their average transactions, they have burning too. Both are quite high. Addresses are high. They're still a good project. Doesn't it feel like the disbelief stage. Everyone thinks it's the sucker's rally. Yeah. You just don't know. You just don't know. Like, no one knows 100% with certainty that, let's say, like, last week was bottom, right? You have to wait until enough time has passed and until the price is at a certain point before majority of people will say, okay, yeah, that was bottom, right? Because unless to be honest, we've been fooled many times. I've been fooled. I've been wrong so many times too, right? But you got to put everything together and, you make educated guesses and you try to do the best, right? But the surest way to not guess, right, and protect yourself is really just DCA. Set a schedule, DCA. Set something for yourself. That way you don't have to try to guess that if this is a local bottom or the truly the bottom or what, right? You just continue to DCA, which is why I do so every Wednesday night with you guys. Bennett Booker, appreciate it. That's what I try to do. Miners stop selling. I did cover that recently. CPI expectation is to go down, way down. I believe it could go even lower than expectation, which would be really good. I have 297,000 miles on my 2007 Camry. That's why so many people love Toyotas. Despite the fact Toyotas aren't the coolest cars on the road and doesn't have the most technology, they're just the most reliable. I mean, that's just how it is. Yes, they have problems, but overall, I mean, they have the least amount of problems compared to other manufacturers. Do you ever communicate with people outside of YouTube, like corresponding? Is there a legit way to reach you? Not really. Not really. I do run a Patreon. There's a Discord in there, and there's messaging. So if people really want to talk to me and pick my brain, sometimes they do there. But I pretty much just answer questions during Q&A. Resale on Lexus is insane. Yes, resale value on Lexus. I mean, certain Lexus SUVs, like for example the GX460, the LX. They just redesigned the LX, but previously the LX570 before the LX600, right? Out for like over a decade. Still, people bought them. Other manufacturers wish they can have cars that hasn't been updated for like a decade and still sell as well as they do. And that's because of Lexus dependability, reliability, and resale value. And they're all correlated. Chad, good luck on the Land Rover. The reason why I've never bought a Land Rover or Range Rover is because they will live at the dealership. They will spend more time at the dealership getting fixed than in your garage. Every single person that ever owned the Range Rover, Land Rover have said the same thing. That is the sole reason why I've never purchased a Land Rover or Range Rover, because of that. So good luck to you. When you DCA, how do you know when to stop so you can skim profit? It's really up to you. Set a schedule for yourself too. Just like DCA, when you're buying bottom, set a schedule to sell at top. Like if you're up 20%, 25%, sell a little bit off. Or you're up 50 or 100%, right? This is especially important. I will cover that more as we start going higher. But if you are, especially if you don't have any extra cash, right? I still think it's important to have 20, 25, 30% in cash. And if you don't have that, you need to get that, right? Either supplement it through some other means or take profit. So it's the same thing. You set a schedule to just take some off the top, put it on the side, and wait for a rainy day so you can DCA or buy more. It's really that simple. Yeah, I don't know what it is with Land Rovers. Or Range Rovers. At least, they have the prestige brand recognition. Otherwise, I don't know why anyone would be buying them. I guess they're good off-road too, but they just seem like they can never make cars that are reliable. Like, even brand new ones, like within 3 months or 6 months, you're bringing to the dealership or something. It's that bad. I don't know why. What platform do you use to trade crypto? I use a variety of them. I'm in the U.S., I'm limited. But if I was outside the U.S., I'd definitely just go with Binance. But in the U.S., I'm using Binance.us. Combination of that, Gemini, and I do use a couple of foreign exchanges too, like KuCoin, Maxi. Maxi has become my new favorite go-to foreign exchange because KuCoin started limiting people, U.S. people, on a lot of things. But, of course, Coinbase is there, and Kraken is available too. And there's so many other foreign exchanges out there depending on where you are. So, there's a lot to choose from. Of course, there's DEXs, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, so many swap, QuickSwap. There's so many swaps out there that you could use too. Hondas are reliable, but not nearly as reliable as Toyota. And Hondas are getting more and more boring. At least Honda, they differentiated themselves from Toyota because they were a little bit more exciting, but now they're getting more and more boring. So it's hard to make a case for Honda these days. People are still asking about the most educational XRP video ever created. I swore I was not. Shooter from Twitch, congratulations, Holdcoiner. I swore I wasn't going to play it anymore. But, I don't know, due to popular requests, I may have to. Zach, don't ask me to try frosting and fries. No, can't do it. All right, guys, I'll let you go. So far, so good. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Maybe green, maybe not, but we're closer and closer to that big inflation report on Thursday. We'll see what happens, all right? So tune in tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good night, and watch this before you go.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.